Hey everybody, welcome back for the second episode from the first ever SL Lightweight e-bike shootout. What did you call this bike again, Sean?
Apple fanboy's wet dream.
This bike has got all the gadgets and gizmos you could dream of.
You forgot two words.
What?
Elite E+.
Oh,
I didn't need to say that. It is the giant Trance X Advanced Elite E+0. It is the longest named bike in the shootout, and it has a couple other records. It has also got the most powerful drive unit, and it is a very fun and capable bike. So let's dive into the giant. So the Trance X Advanced is a 140 mil rear travel, 150 mil front travel, mixed wheel e-bike, which means 27.5 inch in the rear and 29 up front. And as we mentioned, there's a couple of unique features about this bike. It is the heaviest at 44.5 pounds, and along with being a standout in the weight class, although not by much, it is also a standout in the power category. It has the most powerful drive unit by far, with 85 Newton meters of torque, and that is due to the Syncdrive Pro drive unit. So essentially it's a full power drive unit in a lighter weight chassis, and part of that's because of the 400 watt hour battery. So at 85, this was the rocket ship for sure. Reach is 480 or 487 mil. The stack height sits at 625 or 619. Chainstays are 447 millimeters with a 1,244 millimeter wheelbase. The head tube angle is on the steeper end, but for a trail bike, I guess not too far out of line at 65.8 or 66.5. And the seat tube angle sits at 76 or 76.7 degrees. Models available from 6,000 up to 14,000. We are riding the top of the line model here. No expenses spared. We've got the Fox Live Valve, Axis drivetrain, Code RSC brakes with some really nice touches. The oil slick bits kind of tie in with this cool blue marbly and purple paint job. So really awesome bike overall. Sean, talk about some of the tech gadgets and gizmos that you're so excited about.
Well, I think Live Valve's the biggest one.
Okay.
I think Giant has probably the best app compared to all the other models. You can track your rides, like some of that integration is kind of nice just to be able to do it from your phone versus loading Strava and just multiple things going on.
It doesn't have a display or a lot of information. It does have this built-in kind of two-row LED, and then the Ride Control Ergo 3 bar controller, which is really slim and stealthy.
A unique switch.
Took a little minute to get used to, but pretty sweet.
I keep wanting to tap this little button here instead of the rockers.
Yeah, okay.
It is ANT Plus compatible, so if you got a cycling computer, you can hook that up and mount it to this sleek one-piece bar stem combo that you love so much.
Yeah.
4 apps to make this bike work completely?
Well, it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
There's a lot of tech.
You have a Giant app, you have an
Live
AXS, you have a Live Valve. It's a lot.
It is a lot, and yes, it can be overwhelming. Obviously, there are lower price models which have a little less, but yeah, we're e-biking, right? So like some people might say you're complaining about electronics on e-bikes, but like, I don't know, is it too far? When's too much? Like when do you want to just say like, I just want to ride my bike and not sit down on a rock on the side of the trail to recalibrate stuff with my phone? Not saying that the Giant exclusively caused that or had that issue, but there were some bikes with electronics that were just finicky at times. So that said, the Live Valve, we are not huge fans of traditionally. I think the execution on this is rather nice. It's probably one of the better riding Live Valve bikes that I've been on. I think we all agree though that we would buy a lower priced model and save ourselves the Live Valve, but there's no doubt that it does do what Fox designs it to do. Like you can eke out some more performance, some more speed and efficiency with that Live Valve.
Helps take out some of the guessing.
Yeah, it kind of just lets you ride, and you can micro tune the Live Valve, more tuning in your phone app, but you know, you can really kind of set it pretty sensitive or pretty stiff and firm depending on what you're going for. Let's move into handling and suspension performance.
Yeah, suspension, like you said, one of the better live valve bikes I think we've ridden. Pretty balanced. You don't really notice it working that much. You know, there's no major lag in it. Felt like a pretty balanced package. I would definitely add some volume reducers because we did find the bottom of this several times. You said you felt the linear back end. I felt the linear fork. I think that's just a must-do on this kind of bike. It's a little heavier. But other than that, pretty balanced bike, handles well, general trail conditions. We were jumping it today with no problem at all. It definitely holds its own. I mean, kind of does it all pretty well for me.
Yeah, and then Sean, we went and took it out on some very high speed, whooped out.
Rip.
Yeah.
Like, just put all your weight on the front and hammer corners, and traction is pretty good, especially with these tacky chans.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, these tires
are amazing.
Unreal.
Yeah. I agree. I think volume reducers would be good. Again, me buying one of these, not a live valve version, I would go to a 160 fork, which would slacken it out. I was really surprised at the steepness of that head tube angle at 65.8 and how confident I felt at speed. One of our test trails, like, you know, you're averaging 28 to 32 miles an hour, like for a few minutes, and lots of fast corners, and it would shut down into tight turns. And I never felt like I was on like a skittish XC bike. Like, this thing felt planted, and I just was in a position to go. But speaking of position, let's talk the bar stem combo.
Yeah.
It's not the worst one piece, but would you guys be more stoked if it just was a traditional two-piece bar stem?
100%.
Yes.
That's
I felt like it was not the quietest, but it wasn't overly loud or rattly either.
I think I noticed it more on the home trails than I did out here.
Yeah. You know, again, middle of the pack. It didn't stand out as being like, oh my gosh, this thing's really loud, or like, wow, this is dead silent.
I do really like the charge port cover on this.
I was just going to talk about charge port cover. Yes, talk about that thing.
Yeah, this is one of the better charge port designs I've seen. You know, you can pull it out, it never comes off the bike, you don't lose it, it's not rubber where you can just break it, and then it snaps back in and stays there. Yeah. So kind of a nice design.
It does scratch up the paint a little bit.
It does
though.
a little bit, you're right.
Sean likes to get on one thing and he's like, I really like this, and then it's hard to pry him off of it and get onto something else. But we got him back on the Giant after the last bike he loved, and like, every time we would stop and regroup, his smile kept growing and growing, and he's like, I really like this bike. Like, it's just getting faster and faster. So
just go up for another lap.
Yeah. This bike, I think, is really cool. The one-piece bar stem, for me, is a downside. We had a couple of issues where the LED hub would just kind of like freeze on us, and we found out that online it looks like there were some other people that were having issues with that. Luckily, the bike would time out and turn off, and then when we would turn it back on, it would have solved itself. But, you know, that's, you know, some downtime. You're sitting there 5 to 10 minutes, whatever it is, till it times out with the bike that's, you know, not really working. So that's a little worrisome, but it sounds like Giant has some remedies and people are getting that stuff sorted, but nevertheless, something to think about. Other than that, though, I really like this bike. I think I'd swap out bar stem, get a non-live valve version and put a 160 fork on it and some volume reducers out back, and I would love this bike more than I already do. For the general trail riding consumer, this thing is built, dialed, and ready to rock. Nick?
I agree, man. Like this, you can take this to 90% of the trails in the Northwest and be very happy as is.
Yeah.
I think a few little tweaks, like you said, for that gravity-oriented person, the bar thing for me is a must change.
Okay.
But really, that's it, man. I don't love live valve, but it's totally rideable as is.
Yes. You want to vote on out of 10? What do you give this bike?
Out of 10,
as it sits.
As it sits, in the SL category, I'm giving this an 8.5.
8.5? Wow.
I really like this bike.
Well, I'm right there with him.
Okay, okay. And no insults needed here, Giant, or meant, I'm sorry, but did you expect that?
Not at all. This is my favorite Giant I've ever tested.
I mean, after the last one we rode, no.
No.
No, we've, yeah, I'm also surprised. I would give this bike, for this category, I'd give this bike an 8.
Yeah.
It's a solid
It's a solid bike.
2 thumbs up to Giant. If you're in the market for a 140, 150, all-around trail shredding, lightweight e-bike, give this thing a go. It's solid. Please subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment if you have any questions or things we didn't touch on the bike. Make sure you stay tuned for the rest of the videos in this series and our grand finale and roundtable to see how this bike stood up against the others in contention. Time to get back out on the trails. We'll see you in the next video.